Hello, everybody. Welcome to On the Homefront. My name is John Murphy. Happy to be sharing some time with you once again. You might be catching us live on WILI at AM 1400 or 95.3 on the good old FM. We're also on the WILI radio YouTube channel, so you can catch these shows 24/7 at home on your computer or on your phone. The whole idea is to get our guests to you in many different ways so you can stay connected to our stories and all the local news we have to share here. I also want to mention that the station has recently doubled its afternoon primetime information programming now. It's Monday through Friday, 4 to 6. And in the last few weeks, several new shows have started just before our regular 5 o'clock block. So you can check those shows out. They're all locally based. And they're all on YouTube for you as well. So we're happy to be doing more outreach. We have another busy show today. Later on, we're going to talk about Veggiestock coming up on June 1st. And tomorrow is the very first third Thursday for 2024. And we're going to talk about that event as well. We have two guests with us coming on for the later part of the show. But for the first part of the show, I'm really happy and honored to have Dr. Elsa Nunez back in the house. She is retiring after 19 years of service at Eastern Connecticut State University. She is the first Latina president of a university in New England. And we're really sad to see her go, but we're happy to look at all that she's accomplished, and we're going to stay in touch as she moves to Harvard and to continue her work in education. But we're here today to talk a little bit about some history. There was a great graduation that I'm sure she'll have some words to share about. That just happened yesterday. And we'll talk about where Eastern and higher education is going during a time of great change and challenge. So first of all, Elsa, very nice to have you back in the house.
Oh, John, it's a pleasure for me to be with you. Thank you. It's an honor to be your guest.
We've had a chance to do a handful of these over the years.
Yes, we have.
And I'm going to miss them in the future, but we'll try to stay in touch with your work in the future.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that.
So let's start with yesterday, a huge day for families. 1,000 students graduated, and it was your last one.
Yes.
So talk about how that was, looking out on the crowd at this special year for you.
You know, someone during the day at lunch said to me, Elsa, how does it feel? It's your last commencement. And I looked at the person and I said, you know, that thought never crossed my mind. I think I'm at peace with retirement. It's something that I planned for. I'm happy about it. I have a wonderful family, and I know that there's a good time to leave, and I think this feels right to me. So I didn't feel like I was leaving Eastern forever. I felt like this is a transition. Of course, I'm leaving Eastern. I will no longer be president. Right. It is technically my last commencement, but in my heart, it'll never be the last thing that I do with Eastern.
Right. I know the continuity of the work is at Harvard. This, the same continuity of some of the work you're doing, and of course your publications you'll be working with as well.
Yes. And yesterday, as you said, there were 1,000 graduates, and we have at the Excel Center allowed students to bring as many people as they want.
Right.
And so each graduate brings sometimes 10, 12, 15 people. So the Excel Center looks like a UConn basketball game. I mean, it was 12,000 people, John. It was joyous. And at the end, the students don't expect it. As we process out, the balloons come down from the rafters. And it's just a beautiful time. And many of those students, it's their first in their families to go to college.
That's true. That's one of the things about Eastern that's very unique.
Yeah. It was just a joyous occasion, a wonderful way for me to end my presidency.
Right. So one thing I wanted to ask about, too, is we're going to have a conversation in two parts. We're going to start with graduation and kind of looking back on some of the roots of the school and the changes during her 19 years of service. Then we're going to look ahead because so many things are changing in the context and what is higher education for these days. People are asking some very hard questions. But for now, you were the sixth person to serve as president at Eastern. When you look at that long timeline, can you share any perspective on what you'll look back on structurally, Dr. Carter before you, Dr. Webb, and where things are now in 2024 with all the incredible improvements in the buildings in the last maybe 8 or 9 years?
Yeah. Well, to the listeners, I want them to think for a minute. Eastern's existed for 134 years, but only has had 6 presidents. That's very interesting. We've all stayed a very long time. And so in U.S. News and World Report, Eastern ranks number 1 in New England, but in the north, which goes from Maryland all the way up to Canada and across Pennsylvania and, of course, including New England, we rank 16. So that's pretty damn good for a liberal arts college in the state of Connecticut that's medium size. And I really attribute a lot of Eastern's success, of course, to the faculty and staff, but also to the longevity of the presidents. Dr. Carter was there 16 years. I've been here 19 years.
Yep.
Dr. Webb before was there, almost as long as Dr. Carter. And I think institutions, suffer when there's instability.
Absolutely.
In the leadership, but when there's stability and it's and the community respects and is in sync with the leadership, it works very well. And I think that's one of the things that's happened at Eastern, that it's benefited from these long presidencies that my predecessors have had and I have had. It's been a wonderful run for me, a wonderful run. I feel blessed that I was the president of Eastern.
Now, when you look at the academic program, there have been changes in technology that's available. There's a new nursing program in the last year or so. So the art school has had a major upgrade, the communications program. So we're talking about improving access to technology and education. But one thing that comes up with Eastern to me that's always a concern is its role as a liberal arts school. Mm-hmm. It's something very unique that people sometimes don't realize what that means, that they look at those words carefully.
Right.
We talk about technology, industrial growth, but what is this technology for? As powerful as it is, as much as we have to work with it, the liberal arts viewpoint is what makes Eastern unique. Can you share that thought?
Yeah.
That's a big lens to look at.
The listeners, I know, have heard this from either friends or family members. They think liberal in the term liberal arts means liberal politics, right?
Right.
It has nothing to do with liberal politics. Liberal arts means, it comes from the Latin artes liberales, in other words, to liberate the mind. So when Harvard College was started, which was the first liberal arts college in the country, men went to school. Women didn't go to school. They studied music, art, science, the things that were enriching. People thought these are the things that a well-educated man should study. Open their minds, liberate their minds so that they can think critically, be creative, work, in groups collaboratively, and be systematic thinkers. That's the essence of a liberal arts education. So no matter what profession you have, the students at Eastern that are accounting majors, I make them laugh at the accounting banquet because I say to them, we don't graduate accountants at Eastern. And then I say, we graduate liberally educated people who happen to be accountants. And they stomp their feet.
There you go.
Because they're happy. And I say, because you can talk about the conflict in the Middle East. You can talk about the role of religion in this country. You can talk about what does it mean to have a participatory democracy at length. You've been trained for 4 years. It's not just a couple of courses. It's 4 years of this systematic thinking and analytical reasoning that you're trained to do. So when you graduate, you really feel like you can contribute to a complex conversation. You can actually look at problems in an analytical way from different perspectives. You're okay working in groups and asking people what they think. You're okay in modifying your ideas by adapting to others. So I think that if we could just stop and take a minute and look at the values of a liberal arts education, as at Harvard, Wesleyan, Bates, Bowdoin, Colby, those are the elite liberal arts colleges that are private. They're expensive, John. Extremely. So now the ticket price for one of those schools might be as high as $90,000 a year. At Eastern, you're all in for under $30,000, about $27,000 and change. And it's a public liberal arts college. So you're getting this first-class education that was just for the elite that now is open to anybody, regardless of your background, regardless of your means.
I'm glad you made that distinction because people are struggling today when they have to decide the value of going to school versus other choices or what kind of school to go to. And there's such an overfunction today on technology and the benefits of technology and the employment opportunities that it brings that the whole social context, when we're talking in the news about, well, some of our social problems are the result of technology that's not been managed well.
Right.
People have not had values. They've had education. They've had incredible resources, yet they still made these horrible decisions. So how do you deal with that? Some of that is the roots of where that thinking comes from.
Ethics is part of our
that's
liberal arts education, and ethical conduct and comport are essential in the curriculum, and the faculty pay a lot of attention to that because we want people, no matter what your discipline is, what kind of job you have, to work ethically and to, be an ethical person. We need that in our society.
Yeah. In fact, part of that value leads me to something I wanted to ask Elsa about is the Dreamers and DACA. I was very proud of how Eastern was one of the few schools that stepped up early on and stood up and kind of waved their hand. Mm-hmm. How do you view their future after your departure? What do you think the situation will be in terms of their status and their continuity?
Yeah, I think the country is deadlocked in Congress in terms of immigration reform, and they're caught in the middle of that.
They are.
So what happens, it's so interesting. One of our DACA students just finished and was accepted to Harvard Medical School. These are very smart young people. These are not people that, are marginal in any way. So every DACA student ranked in the top 5 in their graduating class. Wow. And so they come to Eastern with very high skill levels. They're great writers. They're articulate. They've gotten, good high school education. So when they come to Eastern, they really feel like they can blossom, and they do because it's a safe place. They feel like, the people aren't going to come and take me away or put me in prison or put me on, take me out of the country. They feel safe at Eastern, and that's an important dimension to their education. And then they, of course, have a very high graduation rate. But when they leave Eastern, the block for them is that they're not allowed to work. Because don't forget, the legislation says you're not a citizen, you're not legally here. You came with your family when you were a baby or an infant. That's right. Or a toddler, rather, and you're not going to be able to work. And so they're fighting that, the Dreamers in Washington. And they're saying, look, we are Americans. We were raised here. We don't want to go to another country, to Haiti. We don't want to go back to South America. We don't want to go back anywhere. Right. We want to stay here because we are Americans. And so I think that when the elected officials, regardless of party, meet them, they're impressed with them. And they see that these are not people that are asking for a handout. They're not people that are going to be on, public assistance. Yeah. They're people that want to work.
Yeah. Well, that's the baggage that's in front of all of them because of the past. The assumptions are there anyway. It's already part of the dialogue that they're trying to overcome. And having that stability means we have unfilled jobs. There are people looking to hire right now that this could add to the labor pool.
Yeah. I think, we are a country of immigrants. You talk about what the Italians suffered, what the Irish suffered, what other immigrant groups have suffered. Time. There was always discrimination. There was always, when you look at how the hardships, if it wasn't for the Catholic Church and helping the Irish, their plight was horrible in this country. That's what these immigrants are feeling today. Yeah. There's a lot of hate out there, and people focus it on the immigrants and say they're bad people. Yes, of course, there's one or two, or I don't know how many in the group that probably did bad things, and that's true, but not the majority. The majority want a better life for their families.
It's very easy to cast a wide brush. It's very mentally easy to do that, And that touches on, as I learn more of your family history from Puerto Rico, you had to overcome that as too. You wanted to go to school, you wanted to move, and you had to overcome the same, not suspicion, but doubt.
Yeah.
To keep you on your path, overcoming those obstacles in terms of getting into higher education and higher roles.
Yeah. It makes you tougher in many ways because once you suffer discrimination like I did, you realize that that's life, that there are mean people full of hate. They didn't like me because I was a little brown, or they didn't like me because my last name wasn't an American last name. And they were vicious sometimes. I remember being pushed down the stairs by a group of girls in elementary school and hurting myself, breaking my arm. And what for? I was so scared I didn't tell anybody what happened, I didn't want any trouble. I didn't want the girls to do anything. So that kind of discrimination makes you tough. It makes you tough. On the other hand, it's painful. It's painful, but I do believe, my mom and dad were the best Americans, and I've said this on your show, in the world. And my father would throw you out of the house if you said one bad word about the United States. He was such a great American. And he believed that nowhere in the world could he have gotten the opportunity he got in this country, and that is to give his family an opportunity to get an education. So I put all that baggage aside and say, look, I'm an American, and I have gotten so much opportunity here.
Yep. And the nice part about what you share, besides the intimacy of your story, is how that has informed the way you've treated people's emotions when they go through stresses at school, over maybe the first one in their family to go, or other kinds of stresses on the fact, well, I just can't be a student. I'm helping to raise a family. I'm working part-time, but I still want to move ahead. So that experience helps you to be very sensitive to those needs in a very direct way.
I think so, and I hope people think that, because I do stop and take a breath and say, this person's hurting, or this person's in crisis, or there's a gender. Sometimes they're going through gender identity issues, or identity, events that they have to deal with. And I always reach out and say, is there anything that we can do at Eastern that's within reason, that's possible? And I think for the most part, people, they don't come to me always directly. They go to someone on the staff, and they find, like I said, for the DACA students, a safe place. But sometimes it's a little bit of a helping hand. They don't have money for a car, for tires rather, for their car. So we have a little fund that was set up. If you need tires for your car, you can bring in, and we can help you buy tires for your car, because some of the students commute. Also, if you are suffering hunger, we have a food pantry.
That's right.
We have a clothes place where you can buy clothes if you have not buy clothes, but get clothes at a very low price for $1 or $2. If you have to go for an interview, for example, and you have nothing to wear. Right. So we try to be sensitive to the student needs, not just say, come here and get an education like many schools do, and that's it. We say, come here and get an education, and we can support you in ways that are meaningful.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. In case you're listening to us on the radio, we're spending time today with Dr. Elsa Nunez, president of Eastern, who's retiring this May after 19 years of service. We're going to take a short break and come right back. Don't go away. All righty, we're back live on the Homefront today, folks. For the third part of the show, we're going to talk about Veggiestock, which is happening June 1st, a major event here in town. And also on tomorrow, Thursday night, is the third Thursday of 2024. We're going to have people here talking about the programming for the whole year. A great downtown celebration is about to begin tomorrow. But right now, we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Elsa Nunez, a retiring president from Eastern. I've had a chance to interview her many times over the years, but this will be our last conversation for a while. But it's really great to have you here again.
Thank you, John. My pleasure to be on. My honor. Thank you for inviting me.
So one thing I wanted to ask about is the fact that I should also mention that I've been teaching at Eastern 40 years, part-time as an adjunct in the communications program.
A very popular professor.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm getting red-faced. But the thing that I've noticed over 40 years is a change in the quality of some of the high schoolers coming in. And I've been here long enough to see that some high schools are not able to do maybe what they used to. I don't know if it's budget cuts. I don't know if it's local people that don't want to pay more in taxes. But the consequences when high schools are compromised, with no judgments, but when high schoolers don't leave with the basics, schools like Eastern spend some of their resources on helping new students catch up. And that is a resource that maybe should go back to the schools at the high school level. And the colleges can use that resource to help students move ahead faster. But it's personal for each case, so I don't want to generalize. But can you talk about that stress? Because students, you want to give them a chance. They deserve it. It might be the first in the family, who knows?
Yeah.
But they're behind, but you want to get them in.
Yeah, and that's a challenge for higher education, because you want to accept the student and start them right off with, college level courses, and they have 4 years of college level courses and they graduate. But that's not the case for many. They come in and they show weaknesses in mathematics and writing. And those courses that they have to take, writing in particular, that'll be a requirement in almost every course that they'll have to take tests, they'll have to write papers, and mathematics is a requirement in most institutions of higher education. So with all due respect to my colleagues at the high school level, because they're doing an almon's job. We have great teachers and principals and superintendents.
With what they have. That's
and
right.
here in town, the school is remarkably dedicated to its students. But, people have to pay attention, parents, to what the kids are learning. And parents are the most powerful people that exist when it comes to their children's education, and they have to insist at the school level when they see deficiencies in their children that the schools attend to those deficiencies. And for the most part, schools will be responsible, but they're facing enormous budget cuts, as you said.
Yeah.
You look at what's happening in Hartford and in other school districts, and so what do? They cut teachers. They cut support services. And those cuts ultimately affect the students, and it's not a good thing. So when people have to vote on school budgets, they have to think more deeply and broadly and look into the future. What do we want in a workforce? Yeah. Because it all starts in elementary school, and then, of course, it's reinforced in high school.
I know, at least in recent years, people are more aware of how critical early preschool is. In the early years when the brain is wired, like you're saying, that's when language acquisition occurs at the youngest age. So that's critical. But by high school, some things have to be ready.
Yes.
And that's the struggle today.
Yes. And if students don't feel comfortable writing and doing math, it's a problem for them, because then they avoid those courses, or they fail out, or they don't want to go to class because for them it's a burden.
Yeah. So, I think if any parents are out there, or folks who are always debating education budgets, the teachers in your town are depending on you to help them do what they want to do, because I'm sure the shortfall isn't because they don't want to do these things, but the result is kids are coming out and they're not fully ready yet. And it's always catch up. So we don't save money at all. You lose it in other ways.
Yeah, we have a huge tutoring center. Oh, my gosh. And we have what's called supplemental instruction, where we reteach them the material. And the students go to the tutorial center and spend hours and hours trying to catch up. And those are resources that I could spend in other ways.
Yeah, that's true. So speaking of resources, the other thing that I want to chat with Elsa about before she goes is, in recent years, our whole higher ed system has kind of been restructured in a way. We have UConn as a flagship. We have the CSU with the branches, and Eastern is here in the east. And then you have all the community colleges. And I guess for parents watching, or maybe possible students, how do you navigate watching your budget but figuring out, even if I can get in, which is the best place for me, and how do I learn the best choice, right? It's tricky today, apart from the financing.
My bully pulpit has always been, don't avoid loans if you can. And you have to take out some loan. I mean, it's okay to graduate with a little bit of loans, because that's an investment in you. And sometimes you need to do that. I took out loans when I was in college. I paid them back, and it's not a bad thing. Loans are not bad. It's the amount that some people graduate with. I was reading about a doctor who went to a private private medical school, and has $1 million in loans. $1 million in loans. I mean, I found that staggering. So you have to think about affordability, number one, and where the person can get in. So if they've done very well in high school, they have many options. UConn is a fabulous Research One university, and you have the best faculty there in a Research One university. And if you get in, if you're competitive, UConn is big. It's not for everybody. Yeah. So we have a lot of students. We're very competitive with UConn in terms of our admissions criteria. But students go to the campus, and they don't want to be one of 60,000. They want to be one of 6,000 at Eastern, where they know people. They can walk across campus and say hello. Yeah. So fit is very important for the parent to consider, or the child, or the student, him or herself, or they, to say, I belong in this kind of school. I want to go to a school where there's engineering. That would be central. We don't have engineering at Eastern. I want to go to a school where there's emphasis on music. That would be Western. Would be an option. In Eastern, we have very good music programs. So I would say affordability. Where can you compete? And let's say a student listening, or a parent listening, has a child who didn't do that well in high school. Well, that happens.
It sure does.
Yeah, it sure happens. Let them test themselves and get a second chance in a community college here at Quinnebog or Three Rivers. Go. The tuition is low. You can live at home. You take a year there 2 years if you want to get the associate degree, and then you transfer to Eastern or you transfer to Central, and you save the 2 years of tuition. Our tuition is higher than the community colleges, but don't give up going to college just because you didn't do well in high school. There is a place in higher education, and people often say to me, Elsa, my plumber makes more than a professor, and I say that's true. My plumber makes more than I do probably, but that's okay. My plumber is happy that he's a college graduate. He runs his business and he does very well.
He's a liberally educated plumber.
And he talks to me about the books he's reading when he comes to the job. And I think it's not for the money. It's not for the job. It's for you. You want to take that mind that you have, that intelligence that if you believe in God, God gave you. If you don't believe in God, that you got innately. And you want to stretch that mind and read and think and argue and learn. There's so much to learn. Even at my age, I think of all the things I don't know. And I say I have so much to learn. And I think it's so exciting for people to think of college that way, that you're going to come in and you're going to learn so much about different things, deeper, wider, more interesting. Our families, speak to us in certain ways, and we learn things in a family construct. Well, that construct, you come to college, and it begins to get broadened, and you hear other opinions that may not be the opinions that you thought were the right opinions, and sometimes you defend your opinions because you think they're the right opinions. But nonetheless, it allows you to be an open thinker. And I think for a democracy, for this great American democracy, the key to a liberal arts education is you will be an engaged citizen. We need people to vote. We need people to argue, their points without fighting, without hitting.
That's it.
But to say, no, did you think about this? Look at the economy. Look at this. Look at social services. We look at immigration. But you can't have that if people don't know the complexity of the issues. And that's what college gives you. You continue that after you graduate from college, but it's a base.
Yeah, it becomes a life process.
Yes.
Or something that's just automatic in a way. So, there's so much more that we could be chatting about, and I'm looking forward to being able to chat maybe later this year with the next president, whoever that may be, to share his or her vision of where things might go. But I do want to take a minute or two to talk about Elsa's journey after Eastern, because she is going to Harvard in the graduate education program. And I wondered if you could share some of the work that you'll be doing up there and some of the bridge building you're doing from here to Harvard.
Yeah. And Harvard has a wonderful program, and, it's a competitive program. I was honored to be selected. I didn't apply. They invited me to apply, and it's called the President in Residence Program. And so they believe that people who serve as presidents, and especially people who are in a presidency for a long time and have no vote or no confidence. I never got a vote or no confidence. And I was in the middle of a lot of controversy at Eastern with a great faculty and staff. But, we had to negotiate and all of that. And Harvard sees that as a benefit that experience has given you that you can share with your students. So when I started this year and will continue, the idea of public policy is not an abstraction. The students are young, many of them in the doctoral program and the master's program. Not all, but some. And so they haven't had the depth of experience that I've had. So when we talk about Title IX or we talk about the controversies that are happening across campuses from a policy point of view, what should the policies be on free speech? What should the policies be on sexual harassment? What should the policies be in an American university where you want everybody to feel that they have a right to free expression, but they have limits to free expression because it's not it's not limitless. Then you begin to exchange with students in a deep way, and I think Harvard values that. My experience, and so I find it very. Very energizing to talk to students. I talked to a young woman a few months ago who just inspired me. She's a recovering addict. She got into, she finished her undergraduate degree, now is in graduate school, and her idea is to start a nonprofit that will provide recovering addicts with opportunities to go to college. And
so
I
she's
thought,
giving back in her own way.
yeah, and I thought this is wonderful. And so we talked about policies, college admissions policies, and so the conversations are enriched by the ideas that the students bring to the table, and I think that stretches me intellectually. It's very exciting, so I'm looking forward to more of it.
Well, thank you for being here today and for being here so many times over the years and for all the good work. We really
John, my
appreciate it.
pleasure, and thanks for all you do for the community.
Thank you too, and we'll be in touch in the future as your work
Yes,
goes on.
absolutely. Thank you again.
Okay, we're going to take a short break for some music and come right back. Don't go away. All righty, we're back in the studio with two more folks. How about that? Sitting next to me, we have Chelsea Cherrier. She is the Click Food Access Manager, and she's here today. She's also one of the coordinators of Veggiestock coming up on June 1st. And next to Chelsea is Chris Beaudry. I'm happy to have him back in the house. I've had him here many times over the last couple of years. He's a musician and a great music promoter, but he's here today as part of the music programming for Third Thursday, which launches tomorrow. So welcome to Third Thursday, Chris. It's really great news to hear that you're helping them program this wonderful series.
I have to apologize for making you have to retool your introduction for me so many times over the years. But this is a good one. I'm excited about this one.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I think they made a great choice. You were so connected to music and live productions that having you with all those stages set up, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It sure is. Yeah. Definitely.
But Chelsea, it's good to have you back.
Hey, thanks.
So let's start right away. Veggiestock is a big day for you and for Click and for Grow Windham, and it's June 1st. So give us a preview of that day.
Yeah, so Veggiestock is a free annual food and garden festival. It's presented by Windham Community Food Network, which is a program of Click. And this is an opportunity for local artisans, musicians, nonprofits, and food vendors to share their talents with our community while also promoting the awesome garden space and Lauder Park area. Yeah, so June 1st, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Lauder Park. And yeah.
They're going to have music all day. They're going to have food, some tasty food.
Yeah.
Some information tables, seedlings, right?
Exactly. So the most fun part about Veggiestock is the free plants. This is an opportunity for everyone in the community to start gardens. We have Spring Valley Student Farm growing seedlings, and then we also get seedlings donated by farms and nurseries and different agencies in the community. And yeah, we give away those free plants to start your garden. And then there's also nonprofits and agencies there like Master Gardeners, CT
Right.
Horticulture, CT pollinators that are going to help answer any questions about gardening for you as well.
Oh, yeah. This is the ideal time of the year when people are beginning to plant and get ready to go. So you can get a lot of information here and some samples. And we've been covering Click a lot. They've been a great success story. They're really a business incubator for people working with food in different ways. And they've got many businesses that are already launched. They've got many trying to go. So we're going to have Click on throughout the year. Chelsea and other people, maybe Dionisi and Luiso.
Yeah.
They have the Latino Chamber of Commerce that's going on. So these businesses are really starting to grow, and it's nice to see that in our local economy.
Absolutely. That's what we're there for. So did you want me to answer any questions about Click? Or
Well, maybe just mention Click in terms of any, maybe the website is a good place where people can learn about some of the workshops that are there. There's events happening all the time. You can sign up. They have a newsletter. So maybe the website is a good thing.
Yeah, so Click is a grassroots nonprofit in Windham, and we're creating a locally just, healthy, and sustainable food system. And we have a food business incubator program with over 30 food business members. And we also have a new food hub program that's emerging there, helping local farmers. And you can find us at clickwomantic.com.
That's right. And also, congratulations. You got a pretty large grant about a month or so ago. You're smiling immediately. As a couple $1 million, right?
Yes, $2.8 million.
Yep.
And that's for all equipment and construction to expand our food and incubator program.
Right.
Go from 2 kitchens to maybe 6 to 7 kitchens.
Wow.
And also a processing kitchen for local farmers to process their product. And also for Click to process local product to distribute to schools, restaurants, and other places to get that food into the community.
See, sometimes in Willimantic, if you build it, they will come.
That's right.
Forget that. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Chris, while we have some time today, let's talk about, because we're going to have you back all summer, but tomorrow's the launch, Third Thursday, 6 to 9. They shut down Willie.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the music.
First, I want to talk about the weather because I'm sure it's on everybody's mind, but we are going strong, and it looks like, as of now, 5:45 on Wednesday evening, it's going to be a go, all systems go. So it looks like maybe scattered showers, but we're going to get set up, and right when the setup starts, it all ends. And Gene Dismay wanted me to put a shout out there to Wayne Norman in the morning and his weather report. So if you really want some guidance on the issue, check out Wayne in the morning. But yeah, we're all systems go, and we're super excited about tomorrow. So
now, last year, didn't they have a website? Was it Willimantic Renaissance? There was a website where they would put an announcement up?
Yes, we actually have multiple channels for everything. So
share that.
Firstly, I would say our social medias are up and very active, and I want to give a shout out to the people of Willimantic Today and other groups that are very active in terms of disseminating information. There's been a lot of sharing going on, so keep doing that. Our social handles are as follows. On Facebook, we're Willimantic's Third Thursday Street Festival, and that's the number 3, so Willimantic's Third Thursday Street Fest. And then on Instagram, which is a new account, there may be multiples out in the ether, but with the official one is Willimantic Street Festival. And we have 76 followers and growing, but I've watched it grow from 0, and I'm really hopeful that it's going to start taking off. And then, of course, our website is willimanticstreetfest.com, and announcements regarding any weather cancellations, which won't happen tomorrow, will be on all 3 of those, as well as emails to our vendors and musicians and the like.
Now, when I heard that they had asked you to get involved with the music, I closed my eyes and I said yes, because is it 4 or 5 stages this year? Is it 4?
Well, so it's a little bit of a truncated street fest for May. We're not doing the way uptown stage, and we're a little light on the way downtown. There's some construction, as you may know, going on down there.
Fortunately, buildings are happening.
But
it's
yes,
nice.
for
Good
our
things.
benefit, right. So it's a good problem to have. So this May, we have multiple stages. Of course, the Beer Garden or the Midtown stage is happening. That's kind of like the focal stage. We have Bruce John and Dinosaurs After Dark, and that's the Dad Ensemble, DAD, right? Yeah. There's a guy who's super active, and he's been posting a lot, and then followed by Patty Tuitt and her band.
Sweet.
And I believe both those bands share some members, so there's going to be a lot of camaraderie going on there.
That'd be a great time.
And Chelsea will let you know about the great addition to the Beer Garden in terms of we have a renewable, reusable mug. Yeah,
so should I get a drum roll here?
Yeah,
for you, Chelsea?
absolutely. To kind of work on the sustainability of the event, we'll have a stainless steel pint glass that has the Third Thursday logo imprinted on it. It's a nice local souvenir, and it reduces your plastic usage.
Look at that, John.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's on our Instagram, Willimantic Street Festival.
I think I'll take 2.
Yeah,
they're
they'll
beautiful.
last
One for each
forever.
hand.
Yeah.
Exactly. And bring it back each month to reduce your plastic usage in the beer
There we go.
garden.
Yeah.
And of course, if you buy a button, if you're a member, you get a button.
Yeah, and we'll at the
buttons are
information
available as
booth
well.
That's
for
right.
donations.
Very,
yeah.
That's a good thing to go, because all that plastic, who needs those plastic cups?
Exactly.
It's horrific. Good
and
for you.
Free beer with purchase.
Yeah.
So
you can't go wrong.
Or
Write
wine.
that down. Write that down.
That's the Midtown stage.
Okay.
At the Uptown stage, which is in front of Eminent Sink, right around there, the student act ensemble, Arts at the Capitol Theater Ensemble, EastCon's school there, is going to be doing a performance to open the night from 6:15 to 7:15. And then 7:45, a great trio called Madison Blues is going to be doing some pop covers, blues, jazz. They're a guitarist, a vocalist, and a trumpet player. And then at the downtown stage, which is actually going to be happening right outside WILI, we have La Choco Band. They're out of Springfield, Massachusetts, and they really know how to party. Like, I was checking them out on YouTube.
Yeah.
A very lively band, and they've played at the MGM in Springfield to sold-out crowds, and they're bringing their band down from Springfield tomorrow.
Some
so it's gonna
high-energy stuff.
Yes, danceable.
They'll chase away the rain. They'll chase away the rain.
Oh, my God,
You have to
absolutely.
aim the
Yeah.
horns. You have to aim the horns.
Right.
yes, exactly.
And am I missing anything? Roaming the streets, there's going to be multiple acts, too. So there's, the set stages, but there's also going to be entertainers walking up and down Main Street. We have the Ghost Note marching drum line, and then we have the Wyndham High School marching band is going to be performing on, I think that's Bank Street, is it? Where there's children's activities as well. And so, anywhere at any point, there's going to be some music, and it may even bleed. It may be like...
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so
It's like a mariachi thing going on.
everywhere.
That's
Yeah, everywhere,
awesome.
something for everybody. Yeah.
So, like if you don't know, 6 to 9, Willimantic shuts down. We're doing it now 27 years.
21.
21. So I'm a little too enthusiastic on that. 21 years though, and I've been there for most of them. Believe me, I'm really happy. Chris, what do you think? Are there any programmatic changes? Like now you have 3 stages. Is it going to be maximum 5 when you have the July, the full schedule?
when the full Street Fest is happening, definitely, yeah.
And are you still looking for bands? You have so many to program, in terms of some talent. How are you planning your schedules?
So I'm still kind of getting my feet wet and learning the ropes, and we did have some website woes, but everything's kind of panning out now. The vendor registration portal, I believe, is fully functional and back open. Chelsea, you may be able to talk to that more.
Yeah, it's working. We're full for food vendors, so
congratulations.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, so lots of really great food coming. So if you're coming to Third Thursday, come hungry. And then I know we are accepting more craft vendors, more nonprofits, more organizations in the community. So please check us out at WillimanticStreetFest.com.
WillimanticStreetFest.com.
And in regards to music, the outgoing booker had left some bookings in place from her tenure. So I'm filling in some gaps. If you are interested in playing the Street Fest, you can go to the website and sign up as a vendor. And we will take a look and see if we could use you for a Street Fest. So.
Okay, well, this is a good start. I talked to Chris about over the summertime, we'll try to get some of the musicians on the phone who are coming in from far away, like a highlighter band that they're coming in town. We'll try to have some fun with that all summer. And we'll track Click as new businesses launch. We have stories to share.
Absolutely.
And so we'll continue that as well.
Yeah, lots of those food vendors are actually going to be coming from Click. And so make sure to check out your local food vendors. Yeah. We have Mexican, Puerto Rican, Indian, Middle Eastern, a new hot dog cart. Best burgers in town, named by the Chronicle, Red Lion Burger. Over 19, I think it's 19 food vendors will be there.
Yeah, with the coming apocalypse, hot dogs and burgers are pretty good planning for that. Yep, that's it, man. Easy to cook.
Yeah.
Don't need much flame for that. Anyway, it's going to be great. Third Thursdays, March, all throughout the season, starting tomorrow. June 1st is a Veggiestock. I want to thank Chelsea and Chris. We'll have them back during the summer. And our program is going to be shifting next week, May 23rd. We're going to begin airing on WICH radio in Norwich and New London. So we're happy to be able to reach all 3 counties. And as we do right now, all the shows we have are on YouTube with the WILI radio channel. So we have all the shows available for you. We're going to send links to our guests, and they can share our stories as well. The whole idea is to help people get their stories out in as many ways as possible. So I guess the last thing I'll do besides thanking you for joining us is the email is john@humanartsmedia.com. If you want to be a guest, if you have news to share, contact us. We'll be happy to have you on. We'll see you next week.